Matt,
Two.
I don't know what Himnetta just said.
He said he encourages everyone to take notes.
Do I?
That's correct.
Yes, she couldn't hear you. Okay.
We can't hardly, well, I can't hardly hear him if he's speaking.
That's okay. All right. So what disqualifies your WOB? If you pass gas, urinate, defecate, sneeze, if you're on your cycle, women.
I'm going to be speaking.
Speak of what?
Take your notes. A lot of this stuff is just going to go over your head. A lot of it you have to recall. You know where I'm.
You can say what you're about to say.
No, we put emphasis on taking notes during the class. It's like we come into the new age of social media and things like this. Back in the day, we used to have the dry erase board, and we used to write what it is that we felt that you need to know going on, because it's a lot that we say, and sometimes you just get into listening to the teacher and not knowing that some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff you're supposed to be trying to memorize and things like that. So back in the day, I used to be speaking, and him used to be pretty much scribing almost the whole class on board, and everybody's writing notes, and now that process is gone. And sometimes when you have a PowerPoint, you still don't write it down in your notes or whatever. For some reason, people just don't do that. When you write down your notes, it's actually you participating in the process of learning. You have more of a mental note when you've actually participated in writing it down. So, I just want to emphasize that, because we could say a lot and then we come back to it in 3 weeks, and then you could be looking like, I don't remember that. Then when it's on the test, you be like, yeah, I never taught this. And be like, yes, we did.
All right, so what disqualifies your WOB? Meaning, if you have performed the WOB step ritual to purify yourself, and then you pass gas, urinate, defecate, any of the things on this list, you are no longer purified. So, it's not, for the purposes of the class, it's not necessary for you to go back and redo the ceremony, but just for understanding of when you are in ritual space, if you are at home tending to your own personal altar, if you're doing activities in this temple that require ritual purity, if these actions are done, then your ritual purity is broken, and if necessary, you will need to go back and redo your WOB class, okay? Once upon a time, someone asked me if they were on their menses, could she still come to class? And the answer to that is yes, you are not, disinvited from class just because you are on your cycle, your moon. You would still participate in the other aspects of opening the way for class. You would just not perform the WOB ceremony. Okay, so you would still do the gastu, you would still do the sharam to the sit, etc. Okay. How many of y'all are familiar with the ceremony or have done it at communion? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. It needs to be updated in the book. I literally just realized that. But all right. So the ceremony consists of first standing outside of the bathroom in bow posture, which is your hands here and your left foot forward, and you would say "Ah, em, wabet." The WOB, we, and Urchu. I enter into the purification chamber to purify myself from foul emanation. Again, those of you who may have learned a while ago will have different language. We've recently made some adjustments due to the research and the assistance of our researchers too. So this is the updated language that we are using going forward, okay? Okay. The translation is the same. So I enter into the purification chamber to purify myself from foul emanation. Y'all got it? Oh, yeah. The pronunciation? Ak, em, wabet, sewab, we, em, urju. There is no. No, but these are first. I'll talk to you. Okay. All right. All right. Moving on. Once you entered into the bathroom, you would then turn on the cold water, not hot water. You're going to run cold water over your hands to your elbows. Then rinse your mouth 4 times. Then your crown from here all the way back to the base of your neck 4 times. Your face 4 times, and your feet 4 times. Okay. In recent years, I've seen a lot of people, and I started doing this myself. Once you do your whole body, then you rinse your hands off 1 more time because you just now touched your body, so you just got to get that stuff off your hands again. I find that to be good practice. And then you would dry yourself off. Paper towels are fine, white towels are fine, etc. Okay. Before exiting, assume ma'at posture. Oh, I'm sorry. At the beginning, it's here. And then when exiting, it's here. So when you're going in, it's here. Yeah, I did it more like this, but it's really more like this, with your hands framing your face. Like, this is tough. Okay. Ma'at posture is here.
So the beginning is the spot, and then the ending is not.
Ma'at. It's weird when I'm sitting here trying to do it. Like when I'm in front of the door, I know what to do. Okay. So you're in ma'at posture again with your left foot forward, and then you say Tari iem ma'at in hau wab ab ka, which means I go forth in righteousness with a pure body, mind, and spirit. Again, you say that before you exit the bathroom. So you're in the bathroom, you turn to the doorway, you stand in the eye posture with your left foot forward, you say those words, and then you may exit. Okay?
At the temple, I see people, they come out the bathroom and they turn back around at the door and then they like, what are you talking about?
Now, who taught you?
What I've noticed is from this book, both of them, the language is changed, the word. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, the languages were changed for both the entry and the exit. Yeah.
So I need you that every morning. Well, I love the words I say.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go over some general greetings, things you might have heard in the temple, and things that you are going to use in the temple. Kemetiquette is one of our general greetings. It means I come offering peace and satisfaction. Kemetiquette. Mm-hmm. You'll hear this one less often these days. Mm-hmm. So it's E. It also has a posture that goes with it, which is Kemetiquette. Okay, so your right hand set forward from your body, then over your heart, then open, palm up in the direction of the person who you're greeting, right? Like Kemetiquette.
But not full body. People get stuck in
Yeah, right. Okay. And actually, the pictures on the screen are a demonstration of what that looks like, one posture at a time. But again, it's supposed to be a continual motion, and not like a step 1, step 2, step 3. Yeah.
Y'all see that picture was many moons ago. You see the curve head.
Yeah.
We haven't updated the photo. It still works.
And y'all, I guess, positions so they could see the whole. What you need.
Is that good?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
All right, the greeting that you probably heard more often in the temple is Ankh and Ma'at, okay, which means live in Ma'at. Ma'at, we know, can be righteousness, balance, harmony, live in order, live in truth, be any one of those things. If someone says Ankh and Ma'at to you, you will respond by saying Aut and Ankh 10. Aut 10, Ankh 10, which means may there be joy in our lives. Or you could say Aut 10 Het 10, which means may there be joy in our house, in our temple or temple. Okay, you ready to move on? Another greeting you probably don't hear very often, but you may hear from time to time is Shalom, or actually we hear it every communion. Old pictures. She's Hispanic. You hear it as a general greeting. Shalom simply means greeting. Okay, so you can say that just to say greetings to someone, but it is often used to indicate that the person is perhaps not offering peace and satisfaction. Like if you are not Kemetiquette coming in peace and satisfaction, or if you are not Ankh Ma'at in the moment, if you're not in Ma'at, you might not say those things. You might just say Shalom. So sometimes people will say like Shalom means something's wrong with you. Like that's not what it means. It just means greeting, but it can be used to indicate that for whatever reason you've chosen not to use one of the other greetings, okay? Or it could just be used to say greeting, right? Okay. Just want to make sure we got that. This greeting is appropriate when greeting elders, high priests and high priestesses, kings and queens. So it is again, I come offering peace and satisfaction as well as life, strength, and health, because Us is an acronym for Ankh Ujasanev. Okay. I'll stand up to do this posture. Those of you who are online should still be able to see me if you expand your video window on the side, but you can also see the pictures on the slide. So the posture looks like this, left foot forward again. So same as the Kemetiquette, which is here, you would say Kemetiquette, but instead of coming here, you would push and bend at the waist, okay? And that is the proper greeting for the sit, myself, for Kerhead, outside of us in the temple. If you were going to greet like Baba Haru, if you were going to greet Hu Kajara, you can do that greeting. I know in the other temples, they have other greetings that they do for their high priests and priestesses, but it's not incorrect to greet them with that sign of respect, okay? If you don't know their temple's greeting, okay? All right, so I'll just one more time. All right, everybody stand. Left foot forward. We're gonna just do it together. So quick. And touch. All right, and typically what you would do is once you're here, you would wait for the person to respond. They're gonna respond by saying do I necessarily meaning, and then once they say that, then you can stand. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So you need to do it one more time, or y'all got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Right hand over your left hand.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And let's touch.
Right hand starts with the
Mm-hmm.
so left
Left foot forward and right hand up. And let's try one after meaning. Okay, all right. Duanessa meaning, we just spoke about that real quick. This is just essentially giving credit and homage to the Nesru, like you have given respect and life, strength, and health to the high priest, priestess, king, queen. They are going to give credit back to the Creator. Okay. To continue the conversation in Nebuchadnezzar that you just started with your greetings, you could then ask someone, Neem Seshamet, which means, how are you? Neem Seshamet. Yep, exactly. And if you're asked Neem Seshamet, or if the other person, or if you ask the other person, there's several ways to respond. You could say Nefer, which will mean good or great. Nefer, it's all good. Nez, everything is everything. Or on Nefer, which means things are not good. Okay? Those are all response, like options for the respondent. Any questions about any of those greetings? Okay. All right, now we'll go over the opening Hekalu ceremony, which is again, it's part of the protocol of like our process of how we open the way for class. It is a call and response. When the foot is here, he does the call. If he's not here, I'll do the call, and then the response is done by the group, right? So Amen Ra Nesud Nestor, we respond with Aten Ra, Nez, and Am. Okay, and then again, Amen Ra Nesud Nestor, Aten Ra, Nez, and Am. We do that 4 times, and then we close with Amen Ma'at. Okay, you want to do it now? Let's everyone please stand. We're going to stand with our left foot forward and our hands in Ma'at posture.
Amen Ra Nesud Nestor.
Aten Ra, Nez, and Am.
Amen Ra Nesud Nestor.
Aten Ra, Nez, and Am.
Amen Ra Nesud Nestor.
Aten Ra, Nez, and Am. Amen Ra, Nez, and Am. All right, have a seat.
Jeanette,
2,
did you want us to write that down?
the opening Hekalu,
Yeah.
it's in your binder.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the pages at the front,
Got
printed
it.
out. Yep,
Do I?
great. Thank you for your. Oh. All right, so I do want you all to learn that for next class, because again, we are going to do that at the start of every class, okay? All right. Continuing on with our lesson of Kemetiquette. The 42 Tevra Ma'at, one of the ways, there are several different ways by which we judge ourselves, our actions, our choices, our behavior, our words, our thoughts even in the Kemetic tradition. And one of them is by examining ourselves through the 42 Tevra We know and understand that the Netzker's Ma'at represents the 7 cardinal virtues of truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, order, balance, and reciprocity. These are considered to be the laws of the universe, which established law and the way that the culture was founded for Kemetic people. And so culturally for us, Ma'at is the way that we live. It is the way that we choose to operate, and it is what we strive to bring into every interaction. And if we fail to bring it into the interaction, then it's our responsibility to go back and restore Ma'at and to bring Ma'at back when the opportunity arises. So anything that is not Ma'at is considered to be Ifset. So if Ma'at is balanced, Ifset is imbalance. If Ma'at is order, Ifset is chaos. If Ma'at is righteousness, Ifset is the failure to be righteous. The symbol of Ma'at is the ostrich feather known as the shuti, which is commonly seen worn on the crown of the Netzker. That's this symbol here, okay? And one of the reasons why this is, I was circling it with the, oh, y'all can't see that. The people on the screen can see that. It's this symbol here. This is the shuti feather on her crown, okay? Which is a feather of an ostrich. In the judgment scene, which many of you are familiar with, you will see like a person being brought to a scale, their heart is being weighed on the scale, and their heart is being weighed against a feather. The goal in life is to live a life so that your heart in judgment is as light as a feather, which means that you're living in such a way that you have no regret or resentment when it's all said and done. So when you lay down at night and you're thinking back over your day and you're like, dang, I really made a mess of things, and your heart is not light as a feather, then that means that you've shown some measure of that. Even if for 23 hours of your day you did Ma'at, if you did that one thing that created that regret in your heart, then that means you contributed a little bit to the imbalance and the chaos of the universe. And so again, the goal would be to go back and to restore Ma'at by addressing what you've done to the best of your ability, apologizing for it, making retribution, thank you, to resolve the situation and to set things right again. It's also important that we acknowledge that not doing evil is not the same as doing good. Doing good is a purposeful action, such as helping someone when they're in need. Ignoring someone when they're in need is not necessarily evil, but it's clearly not good, right? So we have to acknowledge that if we are being stagnant in our behavior, like that ain't my problem, it actually tends to trend more towards Ifset than it does towards Ma'at. Okay, so just be mindful of that as well. Like the moments when we think we're doing no harm because we're just not doing anything tend to be more aesthetic than they are Ma'atic, okay? Ifset is personified by Apep, and here are some images of Apep. The snake is Apep in these situations. He is considered to be the eater of the light and a harbinger of darkness. He is an enemy of Ra, and it is his goal every day to create chaos and to create and bring darkness into the world. That is the energy and the goal of Apep. And Ifset is the tool that he uses to sow those seeds of chaos and darkness, okay? That does not mean that I had a conversation with somebody at the International African Arts Festival this summer, and they were like, I thought snakes were bad in the Kemetic tradition. Like, no, snakes are not bad. In this particular instance, the snake represents an aspect of evil or darkness, but snakes have redeemable qualities, so you will see some snakes being used for positive, with positive attributes, just like all things have positive and negative about them. But in this instance, the snake Apep represents the darkness that is attacking Ra in the solar boat here.
In front of the solar mark. That's the class. Who was attached?
Yes. You protect Ra. You have to worry. He's like the warrior of like Ra. He protects Ra.
What's he known for most often? That's the cleanup service. What do people normally think he is? She learned
it from us. She's like, I don't know who Protector is normally. People think Protector is the Kemetic devil. They be like, Set is the devil. Like, you'll mostly hear Set. You won't hear people talk about Satesh. They be like, Set is where they get Satan from. Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a
Yeah. Set is the Greek name. And Satesh can be a figure of opposition and chaos in certain manifestations, but in this particular manifestation, he fights against the chaos and he fights against the darkness, and he is aligned with the light and with Ma'at in this instance. So again, it goes to show that there's a lot of duality in the universe, and so just like there's Ma'at, there's duality, and it comes back to our choices. So the further that one progresses in spiritual enlightenment, the more Ma'at is meant to be displayed in your life, the more that your life should be in balance, the less that your life should be a reflection of chaos and turmoil. Of course, we all have some moments where we go through things. Sometimes we have lessons that we have to experience in order to take us to another level of our evolution. But if you just constantly can't seem to get your life together, then that is an indication that perhaps you're not using your tools, that you're not standing on your square, that you're not cognizant of the ways that Ma'at is not being bred in your life, okay? Being in violation of one law of Ma'at usually means that you have violated several laws simultaneously. So that's something to be mindful of. Some people think like, oh, it's just one little thing. It's usually not a little thing. It becomes like 7 little things or 12 little things. The laws are very interconnected in that way. So like there's a law that says, I will not do violence. And then it also says, I will not yell at someone. I will not hit someone. I will not raise my voice at someone. So like if you're doing violence, you're probably doing several of those things. It's not just the one thing. So it still comes back to having self-control. We don't expect people to be perfect, but we do expect everyone to be on the path towards perfection, so that you're doing the spiritual work with the expectation of transformation, okay? Egyptologists have termed these principles negative confessions because when they found them, they usually began with the negative, I have not. In fact, they are affirmations of what one has not done in order that they may live in Ma'at. So it is saying, I have not done these things, but it is an affirmation that you're living in Ma'at. I also just break down the language a little bit. Tef, here when you see Tefra, the Tef means top. It also means utterance and authority. And then Ra is related to the cosmic consciousness. But Ra also means mouth, and it also means divine authority. So we define Tefra to mean the top divine authority. It also can mean authoritative utterances of the mouth. Go ahead.
Can you repeat what the cross means?
Top divine authority. And also authoritative utterances of the mouth. So why is an authoritative utterance of your mouth? Is because you are going to say these laws on a daily basis. Every day you will wake up and you will charge yourself with the intention to live by Ma'at by saying, I will not, such and such and such, all 42. And when you come home at night, you close out your day by affirming that you have not, such and such and such, all of the 42. So it's a self-check mechanism. I tend to find that people have the same issue. Like if you're short-tempered, you have like every day you come home and you be like, dang, I was short-tempered again. Like, dang, and you be like, this other one over here, like I mastered that. That's easy. But like the temper thing is the thing that just keeps tripping you up. And it's a self-check mechanism so you can see where your own flaws are and where your things are that you need to work on. Okay. It's also key to acknowledge that in this exercise, when you're doing the 42 every day, you are your own judge. You determine whether or not you follow the principles. You are the one who has to exonerate yourself of your own guilt. It's not about whether or not anyone is there to witness it. Like that's between you and your ancestors at that moment about whether or not you're being honest and things like that. And so again, it comes down to like, what can your conscience live with? And I believe as people do this exercise over and over, they come to realize like, I want to get my life right. And that's just a necessity of feeling good about yourself, right? And who you are and how you act. So the 42 are in the package as well. So I won't read through every single one, but I will point out some specific laws just to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what they represent. Okay. The first one is I have not done iniquity, or I will not do iniquity. And we define iniquity as a gross injustice or wickedness, a violation of right or duty, which means if you violate any one of these laws, you've already violated number one. I have not done a violation of what is right. That's what iniquity means. Okay. Number 13, I have not slaughtered the cattle set apart for the Nazru. That means that you have not taken what doesn't belong to you, particularly if it's something that is set aside as a sacred offering or for the temple or for your own ceremonial purposes in your home, things like that. Once something is sacred to the Nazru, like your sacred altar space, your sacred ancestor bowls, your sacred, whatever the case may be, like that's for them, that's theirs. And again, maintaining the sacred space and the ritualistic purpose of things means not just taking it and using it outside of that context. It would also mean like if you say like, I'm going to give $20 to the temple, you know, as to the Nazru as an offering this Sunday, and then you come and you like, but then that means I can't go out to dinner. Like, you know, if you set it aside in your heart that this was your offering, that is your offering. And if you violate that, then that is a part of what this is about, okay? Number 14, I have not eaten my heart. Eating my heart represents doing something that you will regret, meaning your heart is now in the pit of your stomach, and y'all know what that's like. Okay. Number 20, I have not committed any sin against my own purity. We typically define that to mean masturbation. In particular, masturbation is like a use of our life force, and it is like a spoilage of our life force for purposes that are not usually like reproductive. And while I understand that people engage in sexual behavior that without the purposes of making babies, there's still also like things that you are creating when you are in like a purposeful sacred union with a partner, right? Like where you are perpetuating love, where you're perpetuating oneness, where you might be having ritual union in order to be connected on a particular purpose or goal, because people do use like that's what Tantra is about, right? Where you're using the intimate space to create things and to breathe life into things. And if you are just kind of like getting your rocks off, that's not really sacred at that point, okay? Number 22, I have not done that which is abominable. Abominable just means I have not done what is repugnantly hateful, detestable, or loathsome, okay? Number 24, I have not stopped my ears against words of right and wrong. Simply means I have not refused to listen. If somebody's trying to tell you something, you just need to be open to hearing what they have to say. If it's useful to you, then humble yourself and use it. If it's not useful, at least have the openness to consider that they might have some wisdom and hear it before you just discard it. But to just be like, I don't want to hear that because it's offending your ego, is now creating incest, right? I'll go with number 27 here. I have not lust, commit fornication, or live with others of my same sex. I only bring that up to reinforce what we talked about before about like sacred intimacy versus like empty intimacy, right? Commit fornication would be what we consider empty intimacy, where you like, I don't really have special feelings for this person. I just, need some warmth in my bed today. So that would be considered committing fornication. Number 30, I have not acted insolently or with violence. Insolently means I have not been rude, disrespectful, or impertinent. Number 32, I have not transgressed or angered Nestor, which means I have not violated a law of Nestor. I have not violated a moral code of Nestor. Again, if you violated any of these other 42, you already violated a moral code of Nestor, right? Number 35, I have not worked treason or curses on the king. This includes purposely undermining authority, which is to say that like if we say like, oh, we need everybody to show up at 4 o'clock for the ceremony, and you'd be like, guys, we probably don't need to be there by 4. Like we could probably just be there by 4:05. Like that's undermining authority. That's the same as like working treason, because you're creating a situation where our success is in jeopardy because of your inability to accept the authority. I have not slighted the Nestor in my native town. The Nestor of the Temple of the New is Ra. That is the Nestor of your native town. So we make sure to, at communions and at ritual occasions and things like that, we make sure to do offerings to make sure we're honoring Ra and we're giving him energy and we are not slighting him. Okay. Another way by which we measure ourselves in the tradition is through the Meju, Kemetiquette and Kemethics, which is the 10 virtues of an initiate. You all do need to write these down because they're not in your binder. Okay. So I'll start with number 1, control of thought. Control of thought is achieved through meditation. One of the reasons why we emphasize it, because if you don't achieve control of thought, you cannot achieve any of the rest of these virtues. It is the foundation and the starting place. Ancient cultures mastered discipline of the mind. In order to execute ideas, you have to have imagination, passion, and discipline. Because if you don't have discipline, then you're just dreaming. You're just wishfully thinking. Meditation provides focus, and it provides the ability to control the mind. It cleanses the mind so that you can receive wisdom, and it makes clear your intention. So meditation, again, is the opportunity for you to make a distinction between, like, I'm dreaming that I could own, like, a 12-bedroom house with 19 bathrooms and a movie theater and a bowling alley on 7 acres of land. Like, that might just be wishfully thinking, when really, when you meditate and get to the core of your true intentions and desires, what you really want for yourself and your family is stability, and not to have to worry about paying bills, and not to feel concerned about where the next paycheck is coming from, and not to and to have enough room for everyone to live comfortably. So when you get to the focus of it, it may not be about the superficial things. You get to the root of what your real concerns are. Control of action. There are two forms, Kemetic forms of yoga: Adi Keperu, which means the making of transformation, and then Sema, which is Meru Nestor for union. So those are 2 forms of Kemetic forms of yoga, and we understand yoga to be transitioning energy through strategic positioning of the body, thereby stimulating hormones and bodily organs and systems. I say that to say that there is a difference between productive sitting and destructive sitting. We've already talked about throne posture and how it helps to make sure we are productively sitting. Yoga helps us to master the body in that it gets us used to being in a productive posture all the time. And for those of us who have slouching habits, who have, sit in chairs all day that don't give us good back support or things like that, the more you do yoga, the more you learn how to discipline the body. The more you learn how to discipline the body, it reinforces the discipline of the mind, okay? And it's really healthy for you. Steadfastness of purpose. Steadfastness of purpose is made plain through ritualizing. So that's why you recite the 42 in the mornings and in the evenings. That is not a ritual that requires ritual purity, but it is still a ritual. Waking up at the same time every day is a ritual. Taking a shower is a ritual. Using peppermint oil to breathe and to awaken the senses is a ritual. Meditating is a ritual. So once you put all that together, that becomes like your morning ritual. And when you start your day off with your morning ritual, you're making plain your purpose, right? Like, I intend to live this day high vibrationally. I intend to live this day as a reflection of my true life purpose. I intend to live this day purposefully and not haphazardly, right? So all of those actions reinforce and build our personal power. Number 4 is faith in your teacher's ability to lead you on the path of truth. The Nathru are not perfect. We're going to talk about the Nathru in a future class, but let me assure you that if you know things about the metaphors and the stories that our ancestors left behind, you will learn that they have flaws. If the Nathru have flaws, then humans have flaws. So we ask people not to expect perfection from their teachers. We also ask that they do not compare their teachers to others from other cultures or times. What you should do is you should examine your teachers to determine if they have a few number of contradictions and things that they're working on. People who have a lot of contradictions, people who have a lot of issues, you should be careful about that, and they're asking you to follow them or to trust them as a teacher, but they have a lot of contradictions in how they're living their lives, or you're seeing a lot of insight in their behavior. You need to be wary of that. But if you are examining your teachers and you're seeing consistency, you're seeing steadfastness, you're seeing growth, you're seeing that they are attempting to control their thoughts and control their actions, and they're living by the same principles and practices that they're reinforcing, then there should be no reason not to have faith that they have your best interest in mind, okay?
Let me just touch on that. The concept of a teacher or master teacher is based off of the idea of the master is the one with the least contradiction. Just so you can put it in context, everything has to be in context. The master is the one with the least contradictions. So there's contradictions, just the least. So by default, the master is the one who has to teach because he has the least contradictions of the people. So for instance, if you all or the collective as the group has 25 contradictions that you're walking around with, and the teacher, the master only has 10, by default, he's qualified to lead. Because a lot of times we, like you said, we project perfection on to the teachers or the masters. Then I would have to ask, when have you ever seen perfection? Nobody has ever seen perfection. So there's contradictions or inconsistencies in the stories of all the Netharu. So how can you hold anybody to be this perfect being? And a lot of times people hide behind, if you're not perfect, then I ain't got to follow nothing. It's a trickster type of mentality. So if you're not perfect, I don't have to listen.
Number 5, faith in your ability to accept and yield the truth, or wield the truth, excuse me. If you are in the right place at the right time, then you have to know that the Nathru brought you here, your ancestors brought you here, because it is your time. You're in the right place at the right time, so it's up to you to have open mind, open ears, open heart. So it's up to you to make conscious decisions to either improve or sabotage your life based on your own willing ability to accept truth, no matter how hard that truth might be. It still just goes back to being able and willing to humble your ego and put yourself to the side so that you can understand the reason why you're here and the lessons that you have come here to learn. All right. Number 6, faith in your ability to act with wisdom. Remember that none of us are acting alone. You are not acting alone. We are all working in connection with the Most High, with the Nether. And therefore, our actions or our inactions will be seen as wise or foolish based on how they affect the all. Typically speaking, what I like to say that ma'at is the thing that negatively impacts the least number of people. So sometimes you might make a choice that might hurt your feelings, but the other 12 people in the situation are going to be totally happy about it. You can't be like, well, it hurt my feelings, so I'm not doing it. Like, well, no, if that's the only solution that results in the least amount of damage, that is the ma'atic solution. And so your ability to act with wisdom is to choose the solution that brings ma'at in every situation. Freedom from resentment under persecution. You know, people often really don't like the idea that they don't get the right to be resentful when they feel like something bad is happening to them, both for the freedom from resentment under persecution and the freedom from resentment under the experience of wrong. People feel like it should be okay to be resentful, but the truth of the matter is, like, it's not. Resentment is an emotion that negatively impacts you more than it negatively impacts anybody else. And it's not necessary or required for any of us to understand why it is that we're going through the thing we're going through. It's nice if we do know, like, oh man, I did this thing last week and it has resulted in me losing my job. Like, it's nice that we're able to make that connection because then we can make sense of it, but sometimes we can't. Sometimes we can't remember the things that we've done. Some of us can't remember the stuff we ate 2 days ago or the clothes we wear on Monday this week. So we just have to accept that there is a reason in the divine scheme of things because nothing in the universe happens haphazardly. Everything happens in ma'at, which is in order. So the things that happen to us are the results of our own action. When under the experience of wrongdoing, you know, we also have to recognize that resentment cannot play a part in the equation because resentment demonstrates a flaw in the concept of love. Love in itself is meant to be unconditional. I don't just mean like romantic love, but the compassionate love that we have for one another and for humanity is meant to be unconditional. And so when somebody acts out of a place of anger, hurt, or trauma, or simply just not knowing better, how do we rise above that by being men and women of ma'at to say, that's not really who you are, or that's not really about me, because that's your own pain, that's your own trauma. So I don't need to take that personally. I'm not going to hate you or resent you or feel like I have to get back at you. I just need to love you and hope that you get the help that you need to heal and hope that you don't inflict that kind of pain on other people. I also want to acknowledge, like, sometimes people think, like, when we talk about concepts like this and we talk about forgiveness, that it means that you have to keep letting people hurt you, which I want to say, like, I didn't say that at all. Like, you do not have to keep letting people hurt you, but you also don't get a pass to start hurting people just because you're hurt. You still have a responsibility for your actions and your choices. So it's like, you can't be like, I'm excused from doing the right thing because they hurt me. Like, no, you're not. You still have to make the right choice here. And the right choice is not to be resentful and not to start lashing out of anger. The ability to distinguish right from wrong and the ability to distinguish real from unreal. When you're distinguishing right from wrong, you will be utilizing your intuitive faculties. Clairvoyance, the art of seeing clearly. Clairaudience, the art of hearing clearly. Empathy, the ability to sense intentions behind thoughts. This is how you're able to know deeper insight into what is right and what is wrong in a particular situation. Go ahead.
I think people ain't right. That's one of the things that y'all should get the clairaudience. What you just said, those
Clairvoyance, clairaudience, and empathy. It's interesting, like a lot of people who say they're empaths, they just be like, I'm an empath because I can feel your emotions. Like it has to be more than just like I can feel what you're feeling. It has to also be like I can understand what you're feeling. I can recognize how what you're feeling has caused you to X, Y, and Z, make these choices. So it goes back to like free from resentment under the experience of wrongdoing. My ability to distinguish right from wrong means that if I know that you're angry and you're taking it out on me unnecessarily, then what's the wrong thing for me to do in this situation is to lash back out at you. That's how I have to distinguish right from wrong, and that's how my empathic abilities help me to do that by understanding where you're coming from. And I also think that, you know, people get into these situations where they just want to be tricksters, and they be like, it's not that bad if I just do this thing that's wrong. It's only a little wrong. They start like judging, like wrong on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, well, I'm not doing a 10 wrong. I'm only doing like a 4. Like that's still wrong. Like, and so again, cultivate your ability to distinguish right from wrong, and cultivate your ability to distinguish real from unreal. I see that happening with people when like they don't want to admit what they did in the situation. Like I have people come to me and they'll be like, you gotta tell so and so to apologize. And like, what happened? Like they called me ugly, and you're like, for real, just out of nowhere? Like they just like looked at you and called you ugly? Like what happened? And just like, well, I mean, I didn't say they stink. You're like, what you mean? Like, you can't leave that part out of the story. You know, you can't just make them sound guilty just because so you could exonerate yourself. You're going to leave out half the story. People do that a lot. And so, like, they're creating alternative realities. But you got to, in order to distinguish real from unreal, again, it's about checking your ego. Like, if you was wrong, you got to admit you was wrong. You got to be able to see what really happened and not just see how you felt about what happened. So before we move on, does anybody have any questions about
those 3 words again? Clairvoyance, empathy, and
clairaudience?
What?
clairaudience.
Clairaudience. Okay.
What was the first one?
Ari Capital. Union. Sama means union.
That would be the kinetic word for yoga. Because yoga means union.
This is being recorded. So y'all get it. Yeah. Y'all get it. You still gotta write it down.
Pay attention.
No, still gotta pay attention.
No, because I know like me, I don't take notes.
Yeah.
I listen
Absolutely.
because note taking don't distract me.
Yeah.
Even in college, I would just take the key thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we gotta listen again, and yeah.
I'm gonna be just reinforcement, you know. So continuing our conversation about Kemetiquette and Kemethics, we're going to talk about the art of spiritual ecology. Ecology is a biological term that relates to the scientific study of the relationships that living organisms have with respect to each other and with their natural environment. So the interconnection that all living organisms have and how it is that they coexist in a single environment. It is about how they live, how they give and take with one another, like how they live in reciprocity, how they create a spiritual balance. And what we understand about biology and about living organisms is that all living organisms, except humans, naturally do what they were created to do. They just live like how they're supposed to, like lions just be lions. right? And mosquitoes just be getting over there like mosquito just bit me, like a mosquito just being a mosquito.
Yeah.
That's what it was created for. Can't get upset. It's just doing. It's part of the ecology for the mosquito to exist. The same goes in spiritual ecology. All members of the system, on all levels, have a part to play in order to maintain ma'at in the environment that is shared. The various levels involved in spiritual ecology, y'all will want to write this down, include the netter, which is at the top, of course. I'm starting at the top, going all the way down. Netter, netru, ancestors, royals, king and queen, priests and priestesses, elders, initiates, initiate candidates, adult students, and youth students. So even children have a role to play in spiritual ecology. Priests and priestesses, elders, initiate candidates, adult students. Good. Unfortunately, in the conscious community, there's this expectation that information is just supposed to be given willingly. Just give it to people, even if the people who are looking for it or who expect to receive it have not proven that they're going to respect what they've been given or honor the information that has been taught, or respect the people who have taught it, the people who have devoted their lives to study, to research, to discerning, and who have cultivated classes or workshops or books and things like that and put their whole life into their work. And then not only are you expected to give it away for free, but then also I don't have to respect it or care nothing about it. Really, I want you to give it to me, but I really don't care about it. It's a total violation of spiritual ecology. Those who are in a position to give, yes, they have a responsibility to do so, but they also have a responsibility to be mindful about who they give information to. Because as a teacher, if I give you something that you're not ready for and that causes a negative impact upon your life, I have a responsibility, a karmic responsibility to that. So I have to be discerning about what I teach. The Soot has to be discerning about what he teaches, and we have to be discerning about who we teach as well, because we can't just be like giving information to people and then just send them out into the world to do damage. Now, instead of just doing my or doing it in this one living room, now we got people out there spreading it that for layers and layers and layers that we don't even know about. And so again, karmically, that's bad for us as well, not just the people who are out there spreading what we've given or incorrectly given or failed to give or failed to monitor. But it also means that those who are receiving have a responsibility as well. The responsibility of students is to approach spirituality with respect and with reverence, to honor your teachers and your guides, and to give back to the community when you're ready to do so that the others who come behind you will be able to receive what you have to give. And also because you are an example of the work. As you're taught and you apply the work into your life and it begins to show results, then people will say like, oh my God, that thing is really working for PM. Let me go ask him what he's doing because, so if you're not doing the work and I'm like, I don't know what cult that is he's doing. It's not working for him. It's like about work since he started going over there. It becomes a reflection of all of us, of the community, and of the thing that you've committed yourself to. Your decision to follow a teacher or to sit at a master's feet is a covenant that you've allowed yourself to be taught. And so once you have allowed yourself to be taught and you've made that agreement by choosing a teacher, you cannot close yourself off to their guidance or to their wisdom or to their decisions. So if you go to your teacher and you say, I want to be taught the highest mysteries, and they say no, you either accept that or they're not your teacher no more. Because they cannot give it to you if they discern that you're not ready. And for you to ask them to do so is a disrespect that is going to likely sever the relationship. If it's a teacher of Ma'at, a righteous teacher who understands their responsibility in spiritual ecology. So the reality is that you either believe all the way or you believe none at all. Teachers and priests and priestesses in spiritual traditions represent the Netheru that backs them. The title Hemneter and Hemetneter, they mean servants of the Most High, servants of God, servants of the Creator, servants of Nether. So the failure to respect the servant is a failure to respect the God. Going back to the 10 virtues, teachers do not have to be perfect, but when you're allowing them to teach, then there is no room for judgment or condemnation towards the teacher. Again, you chose them. You chose them because they were right for you, because they resonated with you, because you trusted them, because you had faith in them, because you thought they had the least contradictions. So once you trust them, then trust them. And it's your responsibility at that point to do your part in spiritual ecology. So give respect and you'll get respect. This is true both in your interactions with other people as well as in your interactions with the Netheru. There's a quote from, it's in the Hosea, right? That says, it's a Kemetic proverb. And it says, Nether magnifies those who magnify Nether. So it still goes back to reciprocity, okay? And what it is that we do to create righteousness and ma'at amongst one another and in our environment, and how that perpetuates itself and uplifts each and every one of us. Even if you're doing something good for another person, it's still uplifting and elevating you, okay? So it is our charge to always be an example of the principle. That is always our what we're striving to do, to be an example of the principles that we believe, that what we talk reflects our walk and vice versa. We are a reminder to each other. So we also have the right and the responsibility to tap each other on the shoulder and be like, hey girl, okay? To not in a judgy or condemning way, but in a way that says, I want to help you get back on your business because I see you're off right now. And because if you're off, it affects the environment. So what's up, right? It also is a responsibility for us to take care of our leaders so that they may be constantly in a position to take care of the people. That goes back to, actually, I'll give a great example of that this summer was when the Soot was in the hospital. Some of y'all know that already. He was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And people in the temple were making food for me, bringing food. They came over, they cleaned the house, they put stuff up on the walls, they rearranged stuff. I bought a dresser to help with like stuff that we had to bring into the house in order to, like, for him to transition home. And they came over and put the dresser together. They did some other things, like they bought an exercise bike to help with the physical therapy, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not about like treating people like housekeepers or anything like that. I don't personally think that we do that. That's my personal opinion. I feel that the people did that because of how much they believe that Mr. and I give to the community as far as being teachers, being available for spiritual readings and consultations, opening our home, and, you know, just among a myriad of different things. Some of the people in the temple have been members of the temple for over a decade. So there's a lot of things that we may have done for that person just over the course of a decade. And so people are like, oh my God, they're going through this crisis. I have to be there for them. I have to take care of them. I have to uplift them in this moment where they need to be uplifted because of all the times that they have uplifted me over the course of the relationship. So that is essentially, in my opinion, a great example of what spiritual ecology looks like in action. It was their effort to restore Ma'at to the situation by making sure that Nissa and I were taken care of. And yes, I want to acknowledge that spiritual ecology does sometimes need money. You know, that we ask y'all to pay for the class because that is an investment in your spiritual future. It shows us that you're serious about this journey. It shows us that you are ready for this journey, and that you're committed, because people don't drop $450 on something that they don't intend to really take seriously, right? So it still goes back to, like, y'all gave us that energy in the form of money, and we're going to give y'all back some energy in the form of these lessons, these conversations, and et cetera. Okay, that still all feeds into spiritual ecology. Do you want to add anything? Okay. Anybody have any questions about that before I move on to the next topic? I know some.
What was after priest?
Elders.
Okay.
Initiate candidates, adult students,
Children.
and youth.
It's one of the reasons why we let the kids be involved in so many different things too. Like, just to speak on that a little bit, like, we just about don't have any. I think over the course of the year there might be like 2-3 things that we do where we be like, don't bring the kids. But like, other than that, like, the kids have to come. They have a responsibility to learn, because if they're gonna grow up in the culture, they gotta learn what's gonna be expected of them. They gotta see what it means to be a Kemetic man or a Kemetic woman, because they're gonna be Kemetic men and women one day. They have to understand who the Nesu are. They have to understand ritual. They have to know how to hold themselves and carry themselves in ritual, sacred space too. They have a responsibility too. So just reinforcing that, because sometimes I feel like people be like, the kids do how? Like, well, kids is kids, but they gotta be here, because otherwise, how do they learn? If we don't let them be exposed to the culture or invited into, we always be like, this gotta be for adults. Like, then the kids are never getting fed in the way that they need to, so that this is culturally valuable to them. All right, so we're going to move on to talk about justifiable anger. This lesson is important because people get angry. I'm going to say it's unavoidable. I don't think I've met a person yet who has mastered themselves to the point where they just don't ever get angry. Men who might be the closest example. Although I have heard he gets angry sometimes. I don't know if I've seen it, but I heard he gets angry too. But just about everybody else, I've seen them get angry. And to be honest with you, there are times when anger is an appropriate response to something. But anger is meant to be a temporary emotion and not like not something you hold on to for years and years and years. So we still have to have the skills to process the things that happen to us. We also have to have the skills and the self-mastery not to just be getting angry for mediocre things, things that don't require that much energy from us or should not require that much energy from us. And lastly, we have to have the courage to address concerns when they arise. Because one of the worst things for community is like, Phil got beef with Tatiana and he don't say nothing to her about it for 4 years. And then one day he comes to me and be like, remember that time that she made me move my chair? And I'd be like, no, I don't remember that. That was 4 years ago. What are you talking about? Right, but people do that. We lie because we all know people who do that, where they be like, I don't like this person because 5 years ago, and you're like, 5 years? You know, it's totally, at that point, it's totally unjustified.
Yeah.
That's actually, I have a bunch of examples. I totally just used one of them. All right, so here's some examples of unjustified anger, like anger that is not just justified. Harmony calls Shakeen and says, Shakeen, can you put together a flyer for me? He agrees, and she provides information for the flyer. Shaquem does not ask about getting paid for designing a flyer because he assumes that his friend is going to pay him for the work. Harmony does not ask about how much it costs because she assumes that they're friends and he's just going to do her a favor. When Shaquem sends the flyer, Harmony is like, thank you, but doesn't bring up the topic of payment. Shaquem then calls Basil and is angry as he talks about how rude and disrespectful Harmony is. Now, why that's unjustified is because the mature and correct thing to do would have just been like, yo, we didn't talk about this, but I was expecting that you were going to pay me because you know that this is my business. This is the way I make a living. Even if you wanted to get the friends and family discount, that's cool, but you know, I still feel like I should be compensated for my time, rather than having a conversation with somebody else who's not even a part of the situation. And remember what we talked about before about distinguishing real and unreal? Like, so now I feel like, man, she didn't pay you. And like, but you ain't tell Marcel, you ain't send her invoice, you ain't tell her how much the fee was gonna be, you know. So now you messing up the reality of Marcel. Now he got a messed up picture about Harmony in his mind. Now that's messing up his relationship with Harmony because of what Shaquem said. These scenarios didn't actually happen. Just nobody can mad at Shaquem for All right, here's another one. Jalima and Doris decide to ride together to the retreat. At the end of the weekend, Jalima drops Doris off at her house, and Doris does not offer to give Jalima any gas money. All right, Jalima is upset, but she doesn't say anything about it. 6 months later, Doris is driving to the day spa, and Jalima rides with her. When Doris takes Jalima home, she asks Jalima to contribute to gas. Jalima then flies into a rage and starts yelling, "Why did I give you any gas money? 6 months ago, you didn't give me any gas money." Also unjustified again, because if it happens, address it right away. That's probably one of the number one rules about anger, is that you might be justified in the moment when it happens, but the longer that you let the time pass, the less justifiable the anger is. If you chosen to let it go, then let it go. But you can't just be holding on to it and then later using it against somebody when they don't even know that you got this grudge, you know? Okay? All right. Peyton is upset with Marcus because he called Marcus 6 times in the last week, and Marcus still has not called him back.
What's up?
Marcus finally calls Peyton back, and Peyton says, "Yo, what took you so long, bruh?" And they hash out the issue, and Marcus apologizes, and Peyton accepts the apology and says that, "Yo, we good, man. Don't even worry about it." But 2 weeks later, Peyton calls Tatiana and talks about the situation as though it was never resolved. Hey. So again, don't say you good if you're not good, right? Right? Like if you good, then it's done, and you gotta let it done. And everything that happens after you said you good is now unjustified. Right. Okay. In the temple, we do believe that people should try their best to get back to you within 24 hours, barring extenuating circumstances that cannot be avoided. So if you calling somebody, and they're taking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get back to you, you got the right to be upset about it, but once it's resolved, right? And that's that. All right. Tatiana and Tuesday are not really good friends. I'm sorry. That's just the situation. They're not real life. They're not really good friends. But both of them are upset with Bob Phil for some reason or another.
Okay.
They probably got reasons. I'm just messing with you. Rather than resolving their issues with Bob Phil, they form a relationship that is based on their mutual anger towards her and spend their conversations talking about her behind her back and assassinating her character. Again, unjustified, because rather than resolving your issues with Von Sil, it's not a problem that the two of y'all decide to be friends if y'all had not been friends before. The problem is that you're basing your friendship on anger that should be dealt with directly with the person with whom you have an issue. All right. Anger that's unjustified should be easily resolved using the spiritual tools that you have or that you will receive over the course of your spiritual development. So we talked about some scenarios that make unjustified anger, but what makes anger justifiable? Anger is justified if you are angry at someone or something that has clearly violated the 42. If someone is using their talents for evil, if someone is speaking badly about others in your temple family, if somebody is bootlegging the lectures, you got the right to be mad about that. If somebody is molesting children, you definitely got the right to be mad about that. If someone is sexually assaulting or harassing women or men, if someone's raping men or boys, you got the right to be mad about that or have justified anger about that as well. Slander and cursing nectar also. So the criteria for justified anger is that it is anger for the right reason. It is not petty. It is not self-indulgent. It is not irrational. It is not a grudge. Okay? You don't have the right to be in denial about the situation just because you're angry. You don't have the right to make the situation worse than it really is just because you're angry, right? So you can't be like, that person stepped on my toe. I bet you they are violating nectar. Like, no, you don't know that. Like, just stick to the fact that they stepped on your foot. Right. Okay? Justifiable anger is always directed at the right person. The minute you start directing your anger at someone who didn't violate you, it's no longer justified. Okay? Taking it out on somebody else is wrong. Like, if me and you got into a fight and then Jalima called me and I'm like, what? What do you want? That's not justified. Because my issue right now, like, I'm upset right now, but I still got to take some deep breaths and collect myself and be like, Sharam, this, I ain't in a good mood, but what's good with you? You know, right? Like, I can't be angry with her or like giving her bad tones or giving her bad energy just because I got something I need to work out with you, right? All right. Justified anger is also anger that occurs at the right time. Something happens, you're angry about it when it happens. You're not angry about it a month after it happens, 2 months, 7 months, 7 years. You mad about something 7 years later, it gotta be a serious thing. I like to say there's a statute of limitations, right? And different infractions have different statutes of limitations, just like different crimes have different statute of limitations, and different crimes have different like minimum sentences and stuff like that, right? So like if you steal a candy bar from the store, like you gotta pay a fine, you gotta spend 5 days in jail. Well, we black, we might spend more than 5 days in jail. Like if you murder somebody like 25 years, right? Like you really should not be spending 25 years in jail over stealing a candy bar, right? So it's the same with justified anger. Somebody do something to you that's on the candy bar level, you only got a little bit of time to be angry. And somebody do something to you on the murder level, you got more time, right? But you also have to have the ability to distinguish real from unreal so you don't start conflating the two, right? and again for the right length of time, which speaks back to what I was just saying before about the statute of limitations. Like once that right length of time has exceeded, then that's it. You no longer, like if you bring something to me and I'll be like, when did this happen? And you be like 4 years, and I'm gonna be like, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not gonna, don't come to me like, I want you to speak to this person because they heard, I'm not gonna speak to them. I'm not gonna say nothing to them. This is the thing you gonna have to, like, let's pray together because I'm not, like, you have to work this out yourself, right? Like, cause now the right length of time, the statute of limitations has exceeded itself. So what is the right length of time to be angry? 24 hours. Where do we get that from? We get that from the Hosea. Where's Hosea?
Everybody should get that book.
What is it called?
Hosea. I know the quote, but I just want to read it to you directly instead of just like paraphrasing. Here we go.
Page
17. It is the book of prayers and sacred praises. It says, though the servant is inclined to make mistakes, the Lord is inclined to be merciful. In this instance, the Lord we're talking about is Amun-Ra. The Lord of Waset does not spend a whole day in anger. He is angry for but a moment, and none of it remains behind. So that's the standard that we strive to be like Amun-Ra. We're striving for that level of excellence, and that is what we're striving to attain for. Again, we know we're not perfect. 24 hours when it comes to major infractions might be difficult to attain to, but that's the goal, and that's the standard, and that's where it comes from. Is another quote? Mm-hmm. All right, so while you're angry, though, during the 24 hours, while it's justified for you to be angry, you're not supposed to just be wallowing, though. You're supposed to use this time to meditate in order to get clarity about the situation and ensure that you're seeing things correctly and properly. You use this time to consult with higher authorities if necessary, meaning spiritual authorities, priests, priestesses, etc., to get a reading if that's necessary from a priest or priestess that you trust. You also would use this time to reflect on your responsibility in the situation. What did you do to contribute to the effect that was sown? What did you do to instigate the issue? What could you have done differently to cause a different resolution in the issue? Go ahead.
So if you are angered by a wrong done you by another, lean not towards remembering it, but towards righteousness. Pass over it quickly and do not hold it in your heart after the first day it happened.
What page is that?
That's page 46 of the Hosea.
Yeah, I got it.
That's the book of Fatah Hattab.
So what was the from the book of prayers and sacred pages on page 17. I like both of those. The one that Sid read talks about our responsibility, like because Fatah Hattab is talking about like who we strive to be. The one that I read talks about, it gives us an example of the Nesru, and I love that we know that Amun-Ra doesn't hold anger in his heart for us. So if we could make mistakes all the time that violate the way we should be living, and we're not living by our purpose, why they created us, and we're not living up to who we meant to be, and they could pass over it in 24 hours, and like we could get over this petty earthly stuff.
One more.
Go ahead.
One more from the book of Amun-Ra, page 59, paragraph 3. Says, do not argue with the contentious, nor provoke them with words. A minimum. Yes, do not argue with the contentious, nor provoke them with words. Pause before those who interrupt, and give way to those who verbally attack you. Sleep a night before speaking, for the unrestrained person is like a storm which bursts forth like a flame in a pile of straw.
So that example about waiting a night before you speak is one that is meant to help you calm your heart so you don't say stuff in the midst of the heat that later you're going to be like, dang, I shouldn't have said that. That was a low blow, you know. Because we get nasty. Like, we feel like somebody hurting us. Be like, I'm going in. You know, you want to twist it and everything. So the whole thing, like, let me take a deep breath. Let me back out of this situation. Let me take 24 hours before I address it, is to avoid saying things, because once it's out there, you can't take it back. Even if the person be like, I forgive you, you still said it, you know? And if it's somebody that we close to and we know well, then we know exactly what to say to hurt them. You can mess around and mess up your relationship forever over a moment of anger. So during the time that you're angry, you're still required to do the right thing. You're not allowed to violate law or to violate what you know to be right and true just because you are angry. Because again, you can't just be going around like punching people in the face and, you know, just being violent and, you know, just walling out just because you're mad. Like, you still got a responsibility to hold yourself together to the best of your ability. And you're also expected not to react immediately. Again, we strive to respond, not to react. Reactions is about our impulse. Responses is about our discernment. It's an active choice versus like I didn't even know what I was. Next thing I knew, I was just like, I got so angry. I didn't even stop jumping over the table. Right. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I saw a news story yesterday about a twin who killed her twin sister. Like, and she was just like, I got so angry. I don't even know what we were arguing about. We were just arguing in the front yard. Next thing I knew, I stabbed her. You know, like, and just straight stabbed her in the heart. And they said the witnesses said what she did was she got so mad she turned to somebody in the yard. She said, "Watch what I'm about to do," and went in the house to get the knife. They came out, and the sister was like, "You ain't about to do that." Oh, you stabbed me. And then when she realized, like, she like, oh, crap. And so then she sat there and held her sister while her sister died in her arms because she didn't even mean to do it. She was just wilding out from being angry. And that's why you wait 24 hours and you arguing, because otherwise, yeah, people do all sorts of things they don't mean to do when they're angry. They say all sorts of things they don't mean to say. When you're angry, you still have to be accountable, because it still comes back to self-mastery. If you have mastery over yourself, then you don't do or say anything that you didn't mean to do or say. However, if you do speak in anger, because you might, you might say a couple of things before you be like, hold on, I ain't supposed to be talking right. So you are to process afterwards by asking yourself the following question: could I have avoided being provoked? Was my reaction justified? Did my response accomplish its goal? What unfortunate reaction did my response have? What alternative response could I have made? Would I react in a different way if the situation were repeated again? If I found myself in the same situation, would I choose a different response next time? And would I be blamed or praised for my action? Okay, this is how we process how our behavior is, how we behaved, and what that looked like when we were in anger. Oh. Oh.
To elaborate a little bit on that last one, that's kind of like, am I key point for
praise for my behavior? So, like, if I told somebody, and I keep blaming the face for my behavior, if I told somebody what I did in the heat of the moment, would they be like, you know, that's the only react. Like, if I walk into somebody trying to touch one of my kids, and I punch them in the face and throw them out the window, like, okay, yeah, that was probably the only reaction that you can have. But if I walk in and, you know, I find one of my kids eating a cookie when I told them no cookies, and I throw my kid out the window, like, no, that wasn't really the right response. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and people, when you tell somebody about it, what are they going to say? Are they going to say, like, yo, I think you kind of overreacted on that one. Yeah, you was wildin', right? Or are they going to say, like, you know what, I would have done the same thing. I might have done worse in your situation, right? So it has to be a proportionate response, right? So if your response is not proportionate and you're wildin', then you're not going to be praised for it. And I don't even think you need to ask anybody. It's still, like, you know in your heart, and you reflect on it, you know whether or not you was violent and you had another course of action that you could have taken that would have.
23 and think about what
Exactly. So remember we talked about if you created ISPET or you contributed to ISPET or you not done Ma'at to the best of your ability, now we have to restore Ma'at. So the process by which people restore Ma'at, one of the ways that we do that is through the 4 R's. We're going to talk about that real quick, and then we're going to close out. Number 1, recognize your part in what has happened. Be honest with yourself about the situation in its totality, not just the part that makes you look or feel good. You also recognize how the situation made you feel. Recognize what were the things that led you to make your choices in the situation. Recognize, like, did I respond that way because it reminds me of what happened with an argument I had with a different friend, and that didn't even have nothing to do with this friend, and I just wilded out because I was triggered, right? Like, recognize that. Recognize that, like, I took something out on her that was unhealed and unresolved in myself. Recognize, like, man, she didn't mean to, but it made me feel a certain way, and I acted out of that, even though I know that wasn't really the intention. Like, so it's a recognizing of the situation and a willingness to have an open eye to the totality of what really happened, and not just to the way that it made you feel or to the way that it hurt you, but also why did it hurt you? And what does that mean? Relate. Relate also goes back to relating. It means relate to the other person. How did you make them feel? Were they triggered? Are they hurt? But it also goes back to relating to what in your past or in your history or in your emotional state caused you to come to this place. Relate to, like, make the connections between, like, every time I get angry, I always do this thing, and I still haven't addressed that habit of mine. That's also what it means to relate. I still haven't addressed this inconsistency in my behavior. I'm still acting, I'm still reacting and not responding. So you're relating this situation out to a larger picture of who you are as a person. Okay. I say that too about relate because I want to be clear that sometimes when you have to deal with healing a process in a situation, like, the other person might not be a participant in that process. It's not required for that other person to be. It's nice for the other person to be, but it's not required, and sometimes it's not possible. Like, sometimes the other person is just not in the space that you're in, and if you ask them to participate in this process, could be very unhealthy for you. And so that doesn't mean you don't have to do the 4 R's. You still have to do it. You just might not be able to have them be a part of the journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Release. So now that you've recognized and related, you have to release the anger, release the grudges, release the resentment, release the judgment, release the feelings behind what happened. The negative feelings behind what happened, because the feelings just let you know that something is off, But past that, they don't serve you. Once you have done the work of recognizing it and relating, you don't need them anymore. And holding on to them, like I said before, it does more damage to you than it does to anybody else.
It's like a phone break when you're dealing with the flow.
What do you mean?
Like, it's like you dealing with the energy, the negative. With that, you like go to cancel.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because when I think about Reiki, I think about like energetic transfer, and this is really just like a process that you're doing with yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really like an emotional processing journey. Yeah, and a spiritual processing journey. Yeah. Is that what you were gonna say too? Sure. All right. Although Reiki can help you with releasing, but it's not, Reiki is not one of the 4 R's. It's not like, or it's not the process of the 4 R's. Yeah. And then lastly, resolve, by figuring out how to move forward in the eye. Okay? Making a resolution like, I resolve that I cannot continue to have that relationship with that person because it damages me. I resolve that I have to be better. I resolve that I have to heal this issue in myself. I resolve that I have to respond rather than react. I resolve, like, whatever it is that you learn from this about yourself, about your relationship, etc., that's where you resolve. If it's possible to resolve with the person and say, like, can we resolve to have a better relationship between us? Can we resolve not to be letting stuff like this damage us? Or can we resolve to be better with each other? Then do that. You should want to restore ma'at in the relationship if you can, but sometimes you can't. That's okay too. It's okay for you to say, my resolution is like, that's a relationship I cannot continue to sustain. Okay. All right, it's 9:34, so I'm gonna stop there. We don't have too much left to go as far as, maybe I should go in. Just 2 slides. Yeah, I'll go through it real fast. 4 types of speech. CT, which is gossip, which is the he said, she said, which is the lowest form of speech. It's low vibrational. It usually doesn't uplift or elevate. Y'all know gossip is usually negative. Like, people don't be like, I heard she started her own business.
That's the TCA.
No, that's a different glyph, I think, right? The CC on the end of Nefer.
It's just how people are conjugating. Her name is Nefer, and it's E.T. The beautiful one. Kind of okay.
That would be funny though. Like, Nefer T means beautiful gossip, right? All right. Tuska, which is idle or unnecessary chatter. So it's just like talking just to have something to talk about. It's not necessarily gossip. It's just like, I like to hear myself speak. Okay. Metal Nefer is good speech. That would be like if you're talking about class, if you're talking about spiritual experiences, if you're sharing like, things and tips about how you do your altar work, or somebody else is telling you about how they do their meditations, and you're sharing wisdom and learning from each other, that's Medu Nefer. And then Medu Nefer is divine speech, or the words of Nefer, the words of God. That's when you will be doing your ritual work, like your prayers, saying like the Medu Nefer, like the Hesi or the Hetau, the words of power, the Hesi of the chant, things like that. Doing Duau is Medu Nefer, okay? Yeah. So things to consider when you're engaging in TC. Number one, even though or even if what I am saying is true, is it fair? Okay, so again, you going back to the gossip thing, like it might be true that this person and this person have beef with one another, but am I being fair in how I'm portraying their beef? Am I being fair about how I'm talking about each person's part in the beef? Am I being fair just in the whole situation? Even just be sharing it with a whole extra party you ain't involved. Am I even being fair in any of that? And this assumes that you're being honest, because if you're not being honest, you already have further corrupted not just gossiping, but now you're also lying. Number 2, does the person I'm speaking to really need to know this? Most of the time, when it comes to gossip, the answer to that is no. And number 3, is there positive information or motives about this person or situation that I am purposefully omitting? Okay? So again, if you're inclined to share information or to gossip about things that might have happened, like, let me tell you about last week when you did Pavilion, you know, am I omitting things that make this person look good because I want to talk bad about them because I already don't like them and I want to sway this person to my side or what have you, right? So that's it. That is our coverage of spiritual ecology of Kemetiquette and Kemethics. Go on, that's there. All right, let me check in here. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I'm going to start with the people online to ask if they have any questions. You guys have to unmute yourselves to ask or comment. All right, that looks like y'all all good. Folks in the room, any questions or comments?
All of this comes from the ancient words or ancestors.
You say all of it like what?
You know how we were resolving? Yeah, that
Yeah.
part. Okay. Yeah. Because I heard some things there that I heard like the ones with the forgiveness. I know you ever heard of Course in Miracles? Yeah, that's the same way they show about forgiveness, in that when you said the person don't have to be there, that you can resolve, because it's more your response to the situation, not so much them. So it's more you're forgiving yourself for the way you responded to whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a little different than what they said they teach in Christianity. Right. But
You about to say something, Marcel?
Yes. Did I hear you say that this was being recorded? Because there's a few notes that I missed.
Yes, my dear. It has been recorded, and I will post it and share the link with you all for study purposes.
Do I?
Please do not share the link with other folks.
Do I?
You're welcome, Lou. Go ahead, Tatiana.
Oh, I actually have several, but
No, it's just a statement. Would you all agree that MS was thorough with his class?
yeah, very thorough.
Yeah. I love teaching this class because most of the time when y'all got issues with people, I'm gonna find out about it. I'm gonna be the one who has to deal with it. So, you know, the lessons on Kemetiquette become very important to me because I found myself moderating things between people and mediating things between people because I do think that, you know, the health of our community is like the strength of our temple. Like if we're good, then we're going to be good, and we can't grow and prosper as a community if we're not good. So people bring stuff to me, and you might not even know about it because sometimes, like I said before, sometimes somebody comes to me with something and I'll be like, nope, you're going to do that on your own, and I'll help you with that, but that's not something you take. So you might not even know when somebody comes to me and tell me they don't like you, but it happens. It happens. Even with the people in this temple who all seem like they love each other and they're brothers and sisters and stuff, some of them got beef or used to have beef or gonna have beef. and, you know, we just have to have the tools to work through it. We have to have the patience to work through it, and we have to know that our love for each other and our love for the Netheru and for the legacy is the thing that binds us to each other. So when it comes back to love all the time, that at the end of the day, like, it can never just be about, like, oh, you know what, forget that person, I'm done with that person. Like, that's your brother, that's your sister, you committed to this. They ain't committed to this. We're not putting nobody out, so y'all gonna have to coexist, figure it out, you know? And it still has to come back to, like, mutual love and respect for the legacy and for each other. So, go ahead.
My first question was, do you have any more of them?
I do, and I'm gonna give them to you. You and Shaquille before y'all go. Y'all was the two you didn't get them when y'all came in, because yeah, we was trying to start. Okay, don't worry. Okay.
And then my first question was, when you were talking about disqualifying for like swab, and you said when you're on your cycle, like how do you stay purified when you're on your?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm gonna repeat it in case you online didn't hear you. She asked, how do you stay purified when you're on your cycle? And your answer is you do not. You're not purified when you're on your cycle. That's just a few days where I would say your spiritual work doesn't stop, but it might have to be modified. So you maybe can't do altar work, but that doesn't mean that you can't do prayer. That doesn't mean that you can't meditate. It doesn't mean that you can't speak to spirit. It doesn't mean you can't journal. You could do breath work. You could do the emotional freedom technique, which we call tapping. There's so many other things that you can still do to keep your energy light and your vibration as high as possible. But it's also a release. So just like when you are, when you go on like a juice cleanse or a juice fast and you're releasing toxins from your body, and sometimes for the first couple of days of the juice fast, you feel sluggish and you feel tired and you don't feel like yourself. Like, that's the same thing that's happening when women are on their cycles. Like, we feel sluggish because we're releasing something. It's not necessarily about whether or not it's dirty or what have you. It's just like our energy is coming down to allow for this release. And we just have to allow it to happen. That's the natural course of things. And then when it's done, then we go right back into integrating our dua'u and our altar work back into our morning ritual. But you don't stop your morning ritual. You just modify it for a few days.
Actually, I have another question.
Yeah.
Like, when you're on your cycle, and because like I do like daily offerings on my altar, do I stop giving offerings while I'm on my?
Typically, altar work is considered something that has to be ritually pure to execute. So yes, I would say deactivate your altar and don't use it. But again, that doesn't mean that you can't have heartfelt relationship with the Netheru through prayers, through meditation and things like that. Because at the end of the day, the number one offering is always yourself, your intention, your sincerity, your heart, and your commitment. So by you continuing to have that relationship and to talk to them and to praise them and pray, and even if you're not putting fruit on an altar, you're still giving them the energy that they want. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes, baby.
Why I'm not understanding why that's such a taboo when one is on their menstrual. It's cleansing the body. So therefore, I mean, it's not like it's anything bad or anything like that. And it's like,
not anything that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's not necessarily anything bad. It's a cleanse, though. And it's the flowing. First of all, well, there's a couple different things. Number one, we understand that everything in existence has a vibration, and blood has a vibration. And so we have to be mindful of the vibration of blood or the vibration of like what is being released during that time. Then number two is not a negative thing. Like I said, it's not necessarily like that we should look at our menstrual blood and be like, oh my God, gross, it's disgusting. Like I understand people say things like, oh, but it was the essence of like the ovum that was, and the ovum is about giving life. Like, yeah, but it's unfertilized and it's something that now the body is getting rid of because its potential for life is no longer existent. And so in our tradition, where we tend in the direction of things that are life-giving, if you now are going through something because you cannot the ovum that you carried and the uterine lining and things like that can no longer give it the same light and it's being released, then that's not a part of like what our tradition sees as like life sustaining and life giving and life nurturing. It is at that point, it's not toxic, that's the wrong way to see it. It's not bad, it's just not life giving, it's not life sustaining. It is now, for lack of a better word, dead. It is no longer, the potentiality is no longer there.
But it's still releasing. You're releasing what's not needed in the body anymore. So therefore, it should not be. I don't feel that it should be something that eliminates you from doing a particular thing, because you are releasing.
But if you're urinating, you can't do altar work either. If you go number 2, you're releasing toxins from the body or something from the body. Like when we eat food, the food nourishes us, it gives us vitamins, but then there's a part of it that we can't use. And that's the part that becomes the number 2, and we take that. And so if you go to the bathroom and you do number 2, you're not pure anymore. It's the same concept. The only difference between going number 2 and your menstrual cycle is an ongoing experience that over the course of multiple days. Whereas if you go into the bathroom, I mean, I hope it don't last for a whole day. That's a problem. If it do, you talking about something where like you could go to the bathroom and then you can take a shower to wash off, what has happened, and then it's done. Versus like with your menstrual cycle, you can't stop it. You can't wash it off. It's just a process. You have to allow this to be released. It's still all about letting it be released and just honoring the time that it takes for this thing to be released and to let it go. And while that's happening, anything that requires ritual purity, you can't engage in. Go ahead.
Well, would you consider it to be like the repurification of the woman, like where
Yes.
Shed, because if it stays, it could potentially become toxic.
Exactly.
So now she's being repurified, so she needs to have that energy, because you're low, but now you're building back up, so you could continue doing your prayers and your meditation, at full strength.
Well, yeah, once it's been released, then now you're back to the potentiality of being a life giver again. Like now your womb has let go of these things that can no longer sustain life, and now your womb is ready to be a place where life is born, restored, grown, etc. So it's just a temporary thing. Like it's not a situation where like, women, like these religions were like, women can't come into the house of the Lord. Like women gotta sit in the back of the room. Like, no, it's not any of those things. Even if you're in your cycle, you don't gotta sit in the back of the room. Even if you're in your cycle, you can still come into a prayer space or come into communion or come to a holiday. There's just certain things that if you're on your cycle, like you'll even notice with the priestesses in the temple, if Kisa is on her cycle, she don't touch the altars. You know what I mean? Like Wabet Kisa or Wabet should have said it, or me. If one of us is, then we don't touch the altars. You might see that there are some days where like, Hemet didn't go pray at the altar. Like, yeah, I'm on my cycle. I don't go to the altars at that time. That doesn't mean I don't have love and reverence for Ra. I just am choosing to fall back in that particular way in order to acknowledge the necessity of ritual purity for particular action. For particular ritual action. But
there are cultures where they actually say that a woman shouldn't do worldly things. She's on her menstrual, to the point where they separate the woman from everyone else, and they just have other women help them with whatever they need during that process. Another thing, just on a health or tied in with spirituality, your magnetism is lowered, so you are more susceptible to negative things, which makes sense why you shouldn't, go to the altar. You bring those things.
It kind of sounds like the moon in a way, where
that is,
like how the moon isn't in the sky during that time, and then it builds back up.
Yeah.
Then once it comes, like in the waxing period.
Yeah. It's really, the cycle is really like the waning moon. It's like the last quarter moon, like the last 3-4 days before a new moon, because the new moon, typically represents like the new potentiality. That's exactly what state that a woman is in once she's finished with her cycle. She's a new potential and ready to like regrow all her strength. Most of the time, like women that you see who are like at full, when I say full strength, I mean like they walk into a room and you be like, ah, like they're attractive and they shine and then you can't understand. They're usually at that full moon time, which is your ovulation, where you like something irresistible about her. I don't know what it is. Like it's ovulation, it's just total nature. You understand what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with that waning, that in the waning moon cycle at the last quarter moon, there's a couple of days in there where the moon is at its lowest power and lowest potentiality. That represents what a woman's the end of the woman's menstrual cycle where she's actually bleeding. That's those days would represent in alignment with the moon calendar. Yeah. Do you want to say something else?
Yeah, and just to add on to that, what you said, the last quarter moon.
Yeah.
Even if you study the course of even if you study plants, the volume that their if you want to say blood flow, just to make it simple, is higher, and as soon as the new moon hits, it relaxes. You know, so everything in nature just, you know, everything checks the work.
Yeah. So one habit I do, and it's mainly of the majority of my family does, is like after we take a shower, we kind of down ourselves in like soda water. Would that technically disqualify in the wild if I was to continue doing that?
You said Florida water?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's considered a pure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know if like those two conflicts or something like that. Or...
No. Florida water is a purifying agent.
Yeah.
So like Florida water would be something like, let's say you want to go, you like can't get to a bathroom, but you got Florida water and you want to douse that over yourself.
Yeah.
You have some measure of purity or what have you.
Yeah.
That's acceptable. Right?
Okay. I just didn't know if that like conflicted with.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, Florida water is one of the things, like when I do readings at the festival every year, I use Florida water, rose water, and different resin incense to help keep not just me cleansed, but also the space cleansed. Because doing readings for me means I'm getting different downloads and different transmissions and having like an ongoing conversation. It could be a lot. Like some days I do like 15, 20 readings. It could be a lot of energy that's flowing. And so the Florida water helps me to, and people coming into the booth too, they bringing stuff. And then they be like, oh my God, your reader, what can I hug you? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm saying, like, carry your Florida water, right? So there's no, like, I can't get to a bathroom out there at the festival, so I'm like, all right, y'all gotta spray me down. You know, like, yeah.
Go drink the water in Florida.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes, sure.
So in Rule 36 of the 42 laws, it says like you follow the water. What does that mean?
She asked it for Rule 36 is a 42 laws of Ma'at. It says, I have not befouled the water. Is that what it says, right? I have not befouled the water. It means I'm not polluted.
Oh, so like the first self or just like the
What
water?
they're doing now, don't do stuff.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's the major source of water for them was the Nile. And that was considered a personification of the deity.
Yeah.
So to throw drunk garbage into that, like that.
Yeah, Nasit was talking about how the Hopi is the major source of water for the Kemetic people. And so if you pollute it and you befoul the water, that created a situation where the water was not usable for the irrigation, for drinking, for the many different things that they needed that water for, because that was their main source of water in order to build their civilization. They built their civilization around the river because they needed that water. So it still goes back to like living in harmony with with your natural environment. So like not befoul the water. I have not polluted. I have not, disrupted the harmony of my natural environment. Right. That's how we would apply it in the 21st century, because we don't have the Hopi River, but like we still have a natural environment that we have to live in harmony with.
I remember in first time last year, we also said that
like the basic way to put it into like modern terms is like not littering. Is that still applicable?
Yeah, because littering, she said, does it apply to not littering? And I would say yes, because littering still is not living in harmony with your natural environment, because we're still creating, we're contributing to a disharmony as far as like the Earth's own eco balance. You know, people be talking about like, oh, the Earth is gonna take us out with the polar shifts and stuff. Like, we're rushing it along by the poor behavior or the poor relationship that we have with nature. And so like if nature takes us out, it's gonna be because like it was like us or them, you know? And like if nature goes, we go anyway. So nature gonna take us out to protect itself. So like yeah, our charge as, you know, maintaining the order of our natural environment is would be not to litter. Yeah.
Great. And I was gonna also add like one of the ways that I found we take action in implementing this particular PEPRA is by doing community service. So that's something that's going to come up later. But just me coming from an environmentally friendly perspective, that's something that I appreciate about the Kemetic legacy, because a lot of religious and spiritual organizations sometimes choose not to speak about how littering and, you know, causing pollution and things like that affect us. They try to separate it from spirituality. But if you think about it, like, would you let trash just build up in your living room? No, you know what I mean? So simple things like people who I know that like smoke, like when I bring this to their attention and they're in the Kemetic legacy and I mention the fact that like the ashtrays or the butts in their yard walking up, like that's dirty, you know what I mean? That's not a respect of the natural environment, but also like that's not something that nature would be proud or happy about. So simple things of like leaving your space dirty or cluttered, or contributing by just throwing, you know, a can out of your window when you're done drinking it, or, you know, just like anything that creates litter or pollution, that's something that we would take seriously to not do actively, and to also demonstrate that in the community by taking opportunities to do community service, including like beautification projects. So just something to note.
I have a question.
What else, Tatiana? That's all right.
Look, you were me last year. That's what I did request. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would expect that. You good? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Go ahead.
So who's in our first I group? Like, we haven't been introduced. You have online people. You have people.
Oh yeah, that's a good. Marcel, introduce yourself.
Hey. I'll give my name is Marcel. I'm out here in Cleveland, Ohio. Woo woo.
All right. Go ahead, Trey.
Akin Ma'at. My name is Trey, and I'm in Long Island, New York.
Oh, hi. Where's Long Island?
Massapequa.
Oh,
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Almost Suffolk County. Almost Suffolk County. Way out there.
Abu Chakrat.
So,
you want to introduce yourself? Go ahead, baby.
Somehow or another, I deleted myself from the video. I don't know what I did, but I'm in Staten Island.
And Deborah.
Uncle Mayat, my name is Deborah, and I'm also in Long Island, New Hyde Park.
Nice. Okay. All right, we're gonna pass this around. I'm gonna turn the camera so they can see y'all as you introduce yourself.
How's it going? Uncle Mayat.
Can't
name
see
is Peyton.
Can't see the face.
I know the light behind you.
Oh, okay.
Is, there we go. I think that's better.
Can you see me now?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, good. All right. I'm from Linden, New Jersey, and this is my first class, and I'm pretty excited. You know.
Still on answer.
Okay, Maat. I'm Basil. I'm here from Irvington, New Jersey.
Hi, Basil.
Ankamat. My name is Tatiana. I'm from Collinsville, New Jersey, but I attend college in Madison, so this is my first class. But yeah.
Ankamat. My name is Tuesday. I'm from New Windsor, New York.
My sacred sister.
Anki, my name is Shaquem. I'm from Newark, New Jersey. Actually, I'm from Union, New Jersey. Actually, here, Mill Run. Actually, yeah, 1723. That's where I grew up. I live in Newark now, but I've been on this spiritual journey for about 8 years now, and I finally feel at home.
Uncle, my aunt, ladies. My name is Harmony, and I'm from Sacramento, California. Yes, I know. What am I doing here? Well, now everybody knows what I'm doing here. I'm a part of the Temple of Anu. So once you join, just be aware you're not going to be able to leave.
Uncle my name is Marcus. I am from Wendell, North Carolina. That's outside of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Cool.
Uncle, my aunt, my name is Jalima, and I live in Queens. Yeah. Oh, you guys see me?
Uncle, my name is Doris, and I'm originally from Jersey City, and I live in Linden.
And it's me. I know. That was nice to say the introduction for the end. All right, we all set?